Okay, the concept of the love wave and the bobbing ball, it's it's bobbing because it's got an elastic membrane on the outside of a vibration inside, and so you can see it as a bobbing ball, and the motion is it bobs forward and rocks, and as it rocks, the axis of the east-west axis dips into a higher turbulent motion, a higher energy state than the laminar end, and then that creates this angle, and then there's a spark because of the difference in charge. Static is released, causing the charge, and so you end up with a vibrating ball that's just vibrating, and because it vibrates, it's hovering in its environment because it's creating turbulence at its equator, and so then it is the stability upon which everything stands. So if I have an apple and I let it go, there's no surface in the atmosphere, but it hits a surface that's been created from that vibration at the center, which has created its own hovering. So it's a tiny droplet of water, and it looks like Saturn because it's got the rings around it. It's got a ring around it because it's been compressed. So in compressed water, it squirts out from the middle, and because water has a negative Poisson's ratio, and this is where it comes from, it just keeps compressing, and the disc gets wider and wider. But just see it as a little disc, like a mini Saturn, and that's the motion of the spin. And so this is Maxwell's equation. This is what completes them. It's that this hovering in an environment and surfaces. It's so intuitive that no surface is here in the atmosphere. There's no resistance, the wind resistance, but there's no resistance there. And then there's a surface. So if you want to see the wind as surfaces of gradients of breeze, you'll see there's some surfaces slowing it, causing an effect on that slowing. But equally, the model holds nicely of surfaces. And so the ball creates its own surface. The surface, the turbulence around the equator, is created by the bobbing motion, and the bobbing motion creates the rigid body itself, the droplet of water. And so Planck's constant duration is that the top and the bottom half of a droplet of water exist separately across the duration of Planck's constant, but they have the momentum that they work together because one spins. So then the two droplets are together, and they compress together by their own force of their own expansion. So the force on the outside, from the center, goes so far, speed of light, out to the edge of the universe, creating the rigid body around us, creating a moment that the rigid body can push off from. A vector axis, it's a rigid thing, it exists at the center. And so it creates itself. And that system exists because water exists. So water exists eternally. Here's why: because it creates time. So the stretching, the force of compression and the stretching of water is what creates the time, the duration of Planck's constant. It's currently too big, it should be smaller, and we'll have our proper cycle. And this is how you build a flat Earth. Earth is flat. So the environment in which we exist is the atmosphere, is an atmosphere, a vacuum, and that in that there's an ice shelf builds up, which is the rigid body. So the outside of our universe is an ice shelf, atom thick ice shelf on the outside, and so we exist hovering in that ice shelf. So the ice shelf is a ring of Saturn, if you like. Just keep going fractal, but you take a ring of Saturn, there's the ice shelf, that's how thin it is. We exist there, and we hover dead level with the ice shelf if we spin properly. If we don't, we fold up to a sphere, and we spin around with an ice at the top of the planet. North Pole is the ice that should be the center of our planet. You move so when we spin up, when we pick our behavior up and we behave with our natural sexual morality, and the planet returns to its proper gravity cycle, it will then pulse, because we're doing our women menstruating together and the coming together, the simultaneous orgasm party. where we moan, oh, all together. There's a ripple around the planet. That's the meaning of our lives. To set the planet up to do that. And that the science engineering is that until we have a flat Earth. So we'll be pulsing now. So we'll go to a disk and everything will relax. So all the tension that we currently feel, the stress that we feel, is because the strain is too great. The strain holding this sphere, holding on to for grim death, and it will. It can't be extinguished, but it can be totally reset on the surface. But the system will slough us off. Imagine that we're a surface. So our experience of consciousness is a surface. Currently, it's really tenuously holding on to that pip, and it's just going to plop off any minute, the surface, and then it'll pop back to a disk. Or we can sort ourselves out, rearrange the planet really fast, do the come together experiment as soon as you like, and let's see what happens. And we'll return to a flat Earth with a bubble around us of the atmosphere, as above, so below, and everything will make sense. Isn't that magical? Isn't that a magical story to be part of, with some engineering background behind it? Victor Leve is classified physics. He's already written all the books. They've got them all. They've already done them. That's why we're getting the knowledge. It's like we've been stealing from them the information they have, but they haven't got it all. They don't have Christ. We do, and therefore we win. Yeah. Viva Cristo Rey. Follow the Rebel King.